Have you ever wondered why, in the moments when your world unravels, all you hear is silence? Not the silence that soothes, but the kind that presses on your chest, making it hard to breathe. Maybe today, prayer feels like shouting into a sky that refuses to echo back. You close your eyes, hoping for a whisper, a sign, something, anything. Instead, you're met with nothing but the heavy quiet, like waiting at the edge of a cliff for an answer that never comes. Take a slow breath. Feel the weight in your shoulders, the ache in your heart, that tiredness that comes from hoping and waiting and not knowing what else to try. The silence isn't gentle. It's raw, restless. It makes you question if you're truly heard, or if you're just talking to yourself in the dark. Maybe you're weary from holding out your hands for answers that seem to slip through your fingers. Still, some part of you remains here, listening, even when you don't know why. There's a strange kind of courage in continuing, in letting your heart keep searching for a sound when your ears pick up nothing at all. Maybe you've come to believe that silence means you've been left behind, forgotten. But what if the silence isn't emptiness? What if it's not absence, but something else? What if in this quiet, something is being shaped, not around you, but within you? Hold on to this pause, right here, right now. Because sometimes the silence isn't punishment. Sometimes it's preparation. And maybe, just maybe, your heart is about to hear what your ears cannot. How long have you been carrying a weight you can't quite explain? Have you ever wondered if maybe, just maybe, you've hidden your pain so well that even you can't find all the pieces anymore? There's a kind of tiredness that settles deep, the kind that doesn't go away after a night's sleep or a weekend of rest. Sometimes it's not about what's happened on the outside, but about everything left unspoken, buried quietly inside. It's not unusual to feel lost, even when you know all the right words. Sometimes you wake up and realize you've learned how to smile through the ache, how to keep moving even when your soul feels heavy. Maybe you felt guilty for not feeling stronger, or for doubting when you thought you should be certain. Maybe you've wondered if your struggle means you're failing, if the silence around your prayers is proof that you're not enough. But what if this quiet, empty space is not a sign that you're broken? What if the moments when your faith feels like a whisper and not a shout are just as real, just as honest? Have you ever caught yourself thinking that everyone else seems to handle things better? That maybe you're the only one who doesn't have it all together? Have you ever sat in the stillness and wondered if anyone else feels the same way, but never says it out loud? There's a particular kind of shame that creeps in when you feel you're not measuring up, when you think you should be able to carry it all without stumbling. The world tells you to be strong, to keep going no matter what. But sometimes, all you have is a quiet hope that maybe you're not alone in this. And maybe, just maybe, it's okay to admit that you're tired, that you're searching, and that you're waiting for your heart to hear something your ears cannot. Sometimes before dawn, there's a blue hour when shadows grow gentle and the world seems to hold its breath. In that silence, something stirs beneath the surface, unseen, unmeasured, but real. Maybe the quiet is not emptiness at all, but a secret place where seeds unravel in the darkness, roots searching for a place to hold before anyone notices the green above. You remember moments when the ache was sharp, yet a sudden calm brushed your shoulders, as if invisible hands straightened your spine. It wasn't loud or bright. Maybe it was as soft as a distant melody, a hush in the storm. You can't say where it came from, but for a moment, you breathed easier. There are days when exhaustion seeps so deep you think you cannot stand, and yet, somehow, you rise. Not because of your own strength, but as if something quiet is lifting you from within, like sap rising in a tree before the buds appear. The mind searches for explanations, but sometimes all there is a gentle knowing. Perhaps being held doesn't always feel like arms around you. Sometimes it's just the courage to take one more step. Maybe the silence is a womb, not a void. Maybe what feels like absence is really the slow shaping of something new, hidden from sight, as rain gathers above the clouds before it falls. You remember a time when you laughed in spite of tears, when hope surprised you in a stray sunbeam cutting through gray, when your heart beat steady even in the middle of fear. There's a possibility, almost too fragile to name, that what you cannot hear is still being spoken. That every unanswered longing is a quiet preparation, a mystery unfolding in the dark. Even now, in the hush, something is growing, delicate, persistent, true. And if you listen, not just with your ears but with your heart, perhaps you'll sense it. The whisper of hope taking root in silence. There's a name for this silence that presses gently against my chest, for the slow and hidden work that pulses beneath the surface of my days. It is not abandonment. It is not the emptiness I once feared. Perhaps this is the silence of a presence that refuses to shout, the hush of a love that waits until I am quiet enough to notice. Maybe what I mistook for an ending is, in truth, a beginning carried deep within, like a seed hidden in the dark earth, silently dividing, stretching, preparing to break open. This is the pause that is not absence, but a secret gestation, a time when every breath, no matter how shaky, is enough. When what looks like distance is, in fact, a careful nearness, a hand held so gently over me that I barely feel its warmth. The darkness is not empty. It is full of quiet movement. The seeds buried beneath the soil do not shout, yet something in them listens, reaches, grows. What seemed like silence was a hidden conversation all along. Perhaps, then, my heart is learning to hear what my ears cannot. The world slows. The busy noise inside me quiets, and in the hush, I begin to sense a tender care wrapping around my weakness. What I called failure might be the ground from which hope will one day bloom. What I called silence may be the language of mystery, a presence that does not rush or explain, but waits and attends. It is possible that I am not standing still at all. I am being formed, shaped in secret, prepared for a day I cannot yet see. Maybe the ache is the proof of something growing. Maybe the darkness is not a tomb, but a womb. This is the quiet threshold where endings become beginnings, where emptiness is revealed as hidden fullness, where even my doubts are held by a presence that remains quietly, steadfastly near. Maybe right now, you feel a gentle relief washing over you, or perhaps a tear has finally found its way down your face. It's possible that what you heard touched a place inside you that words can't explain, a quiet ache or a flicker of hope you thought had faded. If any of this made sense to you, even if you can't explain why, even if it's just a whisper in the middle of your doubts, you're already nurturing a kind of faith. You don't have to have everything figured out. The simple act of listening, of letting these truths settle in your heart, is already a small miracle. If this message found its way to a hidden part of you, you can write an amen or simply rest for a moment and let it sink in. Maybe you want to like this message, not as a routine, but as a way of saying, yes, I'm still here. I'm choosing to hope. I'm not giving up. There are others, just like you, listening in the quiet, feeling in secret, searching for something more. You're not alone in this silent community of hearts. We are all seeds in the dark, waiting for the light, not knowing exactly when or how new life will break through, but believing, even silently, that it will. Let your heart linger here, in this gentle pause. Stay open, because what is hidden in this silence is preparing to be revealed. The story isn't finished. Something sacred is drawing near, waiting to be named in the warmth of your hope. Maybe now, in the gentle hush after so much longing, you begin to sense it. God never left your side. Even in the silence, even in the ache, even when you couldn't find words to pray or strength to hope, He remained. Not as a distant judge, but as quiet company, holding the weight of your questions and your tiredness without a single demand. There was never a moment when He waited for you to be better, stronger, or more faithful. Jesus didn't come for the unbreakable. He came for hearts like yours, worn, uncertain, honest enough to admit their need. You don't have to hide the parts of you that tremble. You don't have to prove your worth or recite the right words. There is no secret measure, no hidden test. The very things that made you feel lost, your silence, your doubts, your emptiness, were never barriers for Him. Even on the days when you felt furthest away, when you thought about giving up, He stayed. God never gave up on you. Not once. Let that truth settle. The story isn't about how much you can hold on, but how deeply you are held. Your faith does not depend on your performance. It lives in your willingness to simply remain, even when all you can do is breathe and wait. So this is not the end of your searching. This is the place where you are found. The tenderness you longed for is already here, quietly gathering all the fragments you thought were too broken to be seen. And perhaps, all along, he's been whispering these things, across centuries, through every silence, in ways deeper than words. Maybe you're closer now than you've ever been, standing at the edge of a promise that is about to be spoken. Maybe you didn't realize it, but this journey, your silent ache, your waiting, your fragile hope, it already has a name whispered in the ancient words. That valley you cross with empty hands and eyes searching for a sign has an eternal companion. There's a promise spoken not to the strong, but to the weary, the hesitant, the ones who keep walking even when their heart is heavy and their prayers feel unanswered. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Psalm 23 verse 4. This isn't just a verse from long ago. It's not a line to memorize or recite when you want to feel braver than you are. It's a heartbeat, pulsing in the quiet between questions, a gentle hand steadying yours when you're not sure you can take another step. These words aren't asking you for certainty or courage. They don't demand that you banish your doubts or silence your trembling. They come to you exactly as you are in the hush of your real life. Right now, maybe the valley feels endless. Maybe you're afraid the shadows will swallow you, or that your silence is too deep to be heard. But this promise is not for those who have already arrived. It's for those still wandering, still wondering, still holding out hope in the dark. It's the voice that says, you are not alone, not for a single moment, not even in your questions. Let these words settle into the places where you feel unseen. Let them be warmth in your chest, a quiet strength in your bones. This is more than ancient poetry. It's a presence, living and near, holding you steady through every silent night. Maybe today, your prayer is simply to stay standing. No words, no explanations, just a quiet, gentle presence within your own tired body. Sometimes, faith is nothing more than a sigh that carries hope, barely noticeable but real. There's no need to rush, no need to measure the size of your faith. The smallest seed, hidden in the dark, is already growing while you simply breathe. Even in the silent routine, in the unnoticed hours of ordinary life, something sacred is unfolding. Perhaps the path is not out there, but inside, a journey that began the moment you felt the weight of longing, the ache for something more. Today, the invitation is not to act, but to remain. To let your heart listen, even when your ears hear nothing. To rest, knowing that being present is already enough. In the gentle rhythm of your daily life, in the making of coffee, the pause at a window, the slow walk through a crowded street, your faith is alive. It is not always loud or certain. It does not need to be. The Spirit moves quietly, like breath, weaving grace through each unnoticed moment. You are not asked to perform. You are allowed to simply be, hesitant, weary, hoping. This too is faith, a faith that does not strive, but stays, that does not shine, but endures. The spiritual life is not far away. It is here, in your ordinary, imperfect day, where the sacred and the simple meet. Let the silence be a companion, not a void. Let the heaviness become a place where roots grow deeper. The promise is not that you will always feel strong, but that you will never be alone. Even now, in the quiet, in the smallest breath, you are held. The way forward is gentle. The journey is already underway. Lord, I'm here, maybe with more silence than words, but I trust you hear even what I cannot say. Some days, my heart feels like a barren field, waiting for rain, unsure if anything will grow. Yet I know you are the gardener who never leaves, even in these quiet, uncertain seasons. I don't have the right prayers or the right strength. Sometimes all I have is the ache of wanting to belong, to be enough to be held. You know that ache. You know every tired doubt and every fragile hope that flickers beneath the surface. I come to you not with certainty, but with a soul wide open, raw, and unfinished. I'm tired, Lord, not just in body, but in spirit. I carry questions that haven't found their answers, and dreams that haven't found their wings. I've tried to be strong, but I realize now that you never asked for my performance, only my presence. Thank you for not leaving me when I felt empty. Thank you for holding me steady when I could barely stand. Even when I thought I was alone, you were there, patient in the silence, gentle in the waiting. Teach me to trust even when I don't feel it. Teach me to rest, not because I have everything figured out, but because you are enough, even in the quiet. If faith is a seed, let it grow in this hidden soil, watered by your closeness. If life is a valley, walk with me through it, step by step, breath by breath. I surrender my need to understand, my drive to prove, my fear of not being enough. Let me be present with you, as you are with me, in the silence, in the ordinary, in the unfinished places. Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I almost gave up on myself. Thank you for turning my silence into your presence, my emptiness into a place where love can dwell. I am here, Lord, just as I am. Let my heart hear what my ears cannot. Sometimes, all you can do is sit in the quiet and breathe. And that is enough. God is still with you. Even if you cannot feel Him, even if every prayer feels like silence, His presence remains, gentle and faithful. The seed that was planted in your heart today will grow in its own time, watered by grace and washed over by love. If all you managed today was to be present, to breathe in and out, know that this too is a prayer. You are not alone, and you never have been. If these words found a home in your heart, feel free to write Amen as a sign of quiet faith. Like this moment, if it helped you rest, as a silent gesture of hope. Share with someone who might also be sitting in their own silence, waiting for a word of comfort. Remember, this is a space where you can return whenever you need to breathe, to rest, or simply to be reminded that you are loved. If you wish to keep walking this path with us, you are welcome here. This place is yours too. Let your heart rest tonight, knowing that nothing can separate you from the love that holds you, even now.